The vast chamber pulsed with starlight. It arched like a cathedral into the endless shimmer of space, its high dome a transparent shell that exposed the black velvet void beyond. Dozens of species sat shoulder to shoulder in gleaming rows, resplendent in military attire, scaled, feathered, skinned, and metallic, each bearing the insignias of their respective worlds. The Grand Convergence Council had convened, and for the first time in a millennium, unease flickered beneath the veneer of ceremony. Commander Alara Vance sat at the forefront, clad in the white and gold of the Terran Directorate. She smiled, an expression carefully sculpted for cameras and interstellar diplomacy, but her fingers drummed quietly against her chair's armrest. Born under the peace accords, raised in a galaxy that had forgotten war, Alara had never known the terror her ancestors spoke of in hushed stories. Yet something primal twisted in her gut now. She scanned the chamber, taking in the subtle shifts in posture, the flickers of translated murmurs, the eyes that lingered too long on her polished epaulets. To her right sat Admiral Jortek of the Vrinth Syndicate, his skin a fine mesh of emerald scales. He nodded at her, slow and deliberate, his vertical pupils betraying nothing. To her left, High Minister Sien of the Polari Confederacy whispered rapidly into a neural transcriber, her telepathic tendrils twitching beneath her robes. Both were considered long-standing allies of humanity, trusted voices in galactic affairs. Yet even they looked as if they were bracing for something known only to the wind before the storm. Alara's earpiece buzzed once. She leaned subtly into her shoulder to activate the channel. "Go," she whispered. "Encryption secure," came the voice of Lieutenant Marin, her intelligence liaison aboard the Eidolon. "Signal verified. Earth Command just issued Protocol Solstice." She froze. "That's not possible. That's a contingency. It's been greenlit. Full mobilization. All Terran fleets are being recalled. Border bases ordered to reinforce defensive posture. No explanation given. No external broadcast yet." Alara's stomach turned to lead. Protocol Solstice was a prelude to war. Not just any war, a defensive override, the kind activated when a hostile invasion was imminent, or when Earth was preparing one of its own. She turned off the feed. The council was still in session, voices rising and falling in 100 frequencies. The Supreme Order of the Arcalan Hive was addressing a recent skirmish near the Ryova Passage, a minor border incident, supposedly resolved through diplomacy 2 weeks ago. Yet now, it was being cited as evidence of renewed alien aggression. The timing couldn't be a coincidence. Alara stood. Her movement caused a ripple. Eyes turned toward her, some curious, others wary. "Permission to speak," she announced. Her voice, amplified through the chamber's neural lattice, silenced the room like a blade through silk. The orator deferred with a graceful nod. Alara stepped forward. 3 hours ago, the Terran Directorate activated Protocol Solstice. For those unfamiliar, that's a fleet-wide recall protocol. It's only enacted under existential threat conditions. Gasps, or their equivalents, echoed from multiple species. "We were given no prior warning," she continued, her eyes moving deliberately across the room. "There is no known hostile activity warranting such a protocol, unless there is knowledge Earth has not shared. As representative commander of the Terran Alliance on this council, I demand transparency." Silence followed, and then a voice, smooth, cold, unmistakably human, broke it. Commander Vance speaks out of turn. From the far end of the chamber, the holographic presence of General Dorian Karan flared into existence. He wore Terran battle regalia, crisp and unblemished, his silver hair immaculately combed. Even in projection, he commanded the floor. "She is not authorized to speak on matters of internal security. The Council is advised to disregard her statements until official channels confirm or deny her claims." "General Karan," Alara said evenly, "you know full well I hold senior diplomatic and military credentials to address the Council. What is Earth hiding?" His lips twitched into something not quite a smile. "Earth hides nothing, but it protects everything." The transmission blinked out. Whispers surged through the Council like static. Jortek leaned toward her, voice low. "Your leadership is fragmenting." "I didn't know," Alara said, almost to herself. "They didn't tell me." "Then perhaps they no longer trust you." She looked at him sharply, but the alien's expression was unreadable. Later, In her private quarters aboard the diplomatic vessel Aegis Light, Alara stood before a projection of Earth. The planet spun slowly, lights gleaming from its dark side like silent cities clinging to the night. It looked so peaceful. Marin's face appeared on the feed. I dug deeper. Protocol Solstice isn't the only order that's gone live. Directive Theta V is now active. What is Theta V? He hesitated. It's a tactical isolation measure. It classifies all off-world human assets as potential compromise points. Her throat tightened. You're telling me Earth just labeled us, the ones living and working among aliens, as a security threat? They're framing it as a precaution. No, they're preparing for something. Not defense. Domination. She ended the call and leaned against the console, jaw clenched. Earth had changed. Quietly, deliberately. Somewhere along the way, someone had decided peace was no longer profitable, or safe, or pure. And now they were pulling the strings, locking the gates, and turning their gaze inward, not to shield humanity, but to cleanse it. The door chimed. Enter, she called, expecting Marin or a diplomatic courier. But it was someone else. A young officer, no older than 25. Pale, nervous, eyes flicking around the room. Commander, message for your eyes only. He handed her a sealed neural drive. No insignia, no metadata. She activated it. The face that appeared wasn't one she expected. Dr. Kellen Eros, former peace advisor to the Unified Council, presumed dead in a shuttle explosion 5 years prior. If you're seeing this, the message began, then Earth has begun its purge. Alara froze. I tried to stop it. We all did. But the Directorate, what it's become, is not the Earth you knew. It's something older, deeper. They believe humanity is meant to stand alone. That the peace was a weakness. That alien collaboration deluded us. They've been planning this for decades. The image glitched, then stabilized. They will call it preservation. But it's genocide. Not of aliens, of any human who stood beside them. Alara's breath caught. You must choose, Alara. Your uniform or your conscience. The feed ended. She stood in silence. Outside her window, the stars watched without judgment. Far below, the council still stirred, unaware that its brightest ally was on the verge of becoming its greatest threat. She turned, slow and sure, to the comm panel. Her fingers hovered, then pressed. Admiral Jortek, she said, we need to talk. The war hadn't started, but the peace had ended. The stars above Ryova shimmered like cold glass, indifferent to the turmoil simmering across the galaxy. On board the Eidolon, a command vessel now silently orbiting just outside neutral space, Commander Alara Vance reviewed the incoming files with a stiffness that bordered on rage. Her fingers flicked through layer after encrypted layer, fleet redeployments, altered diplomatic logs, retracted sensor data. The pattern wasn't random. It was surgical. Earth wasn't responding to a threat. It was creating a reality where fear would justify control. The door behind her hissed open. Lieutenant Marin entered without the usual salute, his expression dark. You were right. Operation Solaris exists. Alara turned. Show me. He tapped his forearm display. A projection bloomed into the air, a schematic of star systems, supply lines, and movement patterns. But deeper still were the communications. Intercepted orders, fragmented AI commands, internal memos laced with euphemisms like containment, cultural reclamation, and resource prioritization. They plan to occupy 6 alien territories under the pretext of peacekeeping. 2 of them are allies under the Unity Charter. And the others? Unaligned. Rich in Helion or an atmosphere viable. No formal protection under galactic law. Easy targets. Alara stared at the timeline. The first strike would occur within days. No formal declaration. Just boots, ships, and silence. She closed the projection. Why didn't the council detect this? They did, Marin said, lowering his voice. But Earth's diplomats have been strategically rotated. The ones left are loyalists. The rest? Sidelined. Silenced. A silence stretched between them, brittle and thin. Have we become them? Alara asked, not looking at him. The monsters we used to warn our children about? He didn't answer. He didn't have to. Later that night, aboard the Polari vessel Turn's Wake, Alara met with High Minister Sien. The Polari's elongated skull and glistening skin caught the low ambient light, but her black eyes, like twin abysses, remained fixed on Alara with measured stillness. You bring disturbing claims, Commander. They're not claims. They're blueprints. And yet you are still wearing their crest. Alara unpinned the golden insignia from her uniform and set it gently on the table between them. Not for much longer. Cien examined the emblem but didn't touch it. Earth will say you're a traitor. They already have. I just haven't made it official. You asked for my trust. But trust is a currency spent only once. I'm not asking you to trust me, Alara replied. I'm asking you to prepare. Because they're coming for your people first. The minister inhaled slowly, tendrils along her neck fluttering. You're not the only human warning us. Alara blinked. Who else? Refugees. Splinter ships. Scientists, diplomats. Even soldiers. Quietly fleeing the Terran core. Where are they now? Scattered. In hiding. Many believe there's no hope of resistance. That war with Earth is not just unwinnable, it's unimaginable. Alara stood. Then we need to change their imagination. Back aboard the Eidolon, Alara summoned her senior officers. The room was quieter than usual, their faces more guarded. She watched each one enter. Captain Reese Calder, brilliant and loyal but slow to question authority. Lieutenant Jane, a sharp-tongued strategist with family still on Earth. And Commander Ilan Vex, a half-synthetic officer who had fought to be recognized by both human and alien systems. This meeting is off the books, Alara began. What you hear stays here, until we decide otherwise. The lights dimmed, and the Solaris operation files hovered in the air like a verdict. She watched their reactions. Jane's jaw tightened. Calder looked sick. Vex, inscrutable as ever, merely nodded once. So, Jane said after a pause. We're really doing this. No, Alara said. We already did. When we chose to protect civilians on Elver Prime. When we stopped that weapons test near the Curie Belt. We've been resisting for months without naming it. And now we give it a name. There was silence. Then Vex spoke. The Accord Guard. It's what the Polari are calling their new defense fleet. They're inviting non-aligned humans to join. Alara's eyes narrowed. Is that an offer? It's a question. She looked around the room. We didn't choose this war. But Earth did. Against its own citizens. Against those of us who still believe cooperation isn't contamination. Calder stood. I can't abandon Earth. My sister is there. My people are there. And when the Directorate targets your sister for aiding an alien relief ship, will you stand by? He didn't answer. He didn't need to. Outside, the stars continued their watch. By dawn, the Eidolon had changed course. No longer bound for the Terran Fleet Assembly, it veered toward Andar Prime, where rebel humans and allied species had begun constructing a clandestine rally point. Alara stood on the bridge, watching the stars slide past. A message came through. Unmarked. Anonymous. Human dialect, but laced with old code phrases from pre-unification wars. She played it. This is General Dorian Karan. To all Terran assets, be advised. A faction of compromised personnel has violated security protocols and conspired with Xeno elements. They are to be considered rogue. Any contact with said elements will be treated as treason. Alara smiled grimly. So this was it. The message continued. Directive Theta V remains in effect. Purity must be preserved. The word clung to the air like a toxin. Alara turned to her crew. They think they can isolate us. But we've already crossed the line. Now we draw one of our own. A low beep interrupted her. An incoming transmission, visual, encoded, unfamiliar. Accept it, she ordered. A face appeared on the screen. Human, pale, with copper hair and severe eyes. She wore no uniform, just a dark tunic. Behind her, star maps and war schematics pulsed. My name is Captain Arlen Vox, formerly of the Terran Fifth Fleet. I speak for the Resistance. Alara leaned forward. You don't know us yet, Vox continued. But you will. We've seen what Earth has become. We have defectors, ships, data. What we don't have is leadership. She paused, her gaze hardening. We need someone who still knows how to fight without becoming the thing we fear. Our people call you the last Oathkeeper. We're ready to follow you. The message ended. Alara said nothing for a long time. Then, prepare a response. Jane stepped forward. What will you say? Alara turned, voice calm but steel-edged. That the oath still holds. And so do we. The stars did not blink. They only burned, constant and cold. War was coming. And this time, it wouldn't be fought for control of planets. It would be fought for the soul of humanity. The skies above Andar Prime had turned crimson. Not from war, not yet, but from the flickering auroras produced by the orbital forges now humming to life. Fleets were forming, but it was not the usual coordinated grandeur of Terran might. These ships were older, repurposed. Some bore scorch marks from battles long past. Others were patched with alloys unfamiliar to human engineering, evidence of cooperation between species who had once mistrusted one another, now welded together by necessity. In the shadow of Dock 7, Commander Alara Vance stood with Captain Arlen Vox on a raised platform overlooking the expanding Resistance fleet. They spoke little. Words, in moments like these, had to be earned. "She's not ready," Vox said finally, nodding toward one of the newer ships, the Beacon's Edge. "Power coupling isn't aligned. If the Terrans strike tomorrow, that crew dies before they can power shields. We train them today," Alara said. "Ready or not, we fight with what we have." Vox turned to her, arms crossed. "You sure this is worth it? Most of the galaxy still thinks we're outlaws." "Not most," Alara corrected. "Just the loudest part." They watched in silence as a group of Polari engineers guided a contingent of human technicians through recalibration drills. The language barrier was thick, but necessity made for fluent allies. Behind them, Lieutenant Jane approached, her expression tight. "We have a problem. The Terran Ninth just entered Sealy orbit. No warning. Broadcasting diplomatic codes, but deploying recon drones planet-wide. Testing the perimeter," Alara muttered. "They want to know how far we'll let them go." "We respond. Not with fire," Vox said before Alara could speak. "That's what they want. Let them think we're still too fractured to retaliate." Alara turned to Jane. "Send a decoy signal. Make it look like we're scrambling supply routes through Midas Sector. Let the drones chase ghosts." Jane nodded and moved away. Vox studied Alara with narrowed eyes. "You're playing defense. For now. And when the real war starts, we hit them where it hurts." Vox smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Good. Because I've already pulled 3 cells from hiding. They're yours if you want them. Guerrilla-trained. Terran-born. What do they want? A cause. And a chance to hurt the Directorate." Alara considered. "Send me the roster. I'll interview them myself." Hours later, in the command chamber of the Resistance flagship Vigilant Promise, Alara paced the floor while a projection of the galaxy rotated in slow silence above her. Each blinking red node represented a Terran fleet or base. Each blue one, an allied resistance cell or refugee port. The balance was bleak. Vex entered, accompanied by an unfamiliar figure, a tall, stooped man with ash-gray skin and luminescent veins threading across his scalp. "Alara," Vex said, "this is Envoy Lyric of the Solari Compact. He's come with an offer." Lyric inclined his head, his voice like silk against stone. "Commander Vance, the Solari Compact has watched your resistance grow. Against odds, against fear. You have drawn together former enemies. That alone warrants attention." Alara raised an eyebrow. "And support. That depends. We will not fund an unwinnable war. I'm not asking for funds. I'm asking for truth. You've kept out of this conflict, but you monitor all known Terran systems. What are they building near Tharsis Null?" Lyric hesitated. "A weapon. Of a type we've only seen once before. During the Oryx Purges. It targets memory. Memory. A psychological erasure wave. It does not kill. It unroots identity. Leaves populations docile, compliant. Unable to remember what they've lost." The room went still. "And they're deploying this?" Alara asked. "Not yet, but soon. The station will be operational in 22 days. Vox swore under her breath. "Why didn't you warn us sooner?" Alara asked, voice low. "We hoped they would stop themselves. They haven't. So now we offer our intelligence. In exchange, we request a seat at your council and veto power over any weapon deployment that affects interspecies zones." Alara's jaw clenched. She hated diplomacy born from ultimatums. But she hated ignorance more. "Agreed," she said. "You'll have your seat. But if the Directorate fires that weapon, our first response will not be diplomatic." Lyric bowed again. "Understood. May your memories remain unshaken." After he left, Alara leaned on the console, staring at the map. "They want to rewrite us," she said. "Erase rebellion at the root." "We hit Tharsis Null," Vox said. "Hard and fast. We don't have the fleet for that yet. We don't need a fleet. We need a spear." Alara turned. "You're proposing infiltration. Something dirtier." Vex stepped forward. We've been modifying an old Terran stealth corvette. It's small enough to slip past detection. If we can disable the station's main AI hub before launch, then we buy ourselves time. Ilera finished. She stood up straighter. Pick your team. I want humans and non-humans. I want engineers, not just soldiers. And I want it quiet. Vox nodded. I know who we need. 2 days later, the Wraith 7 launched under deep blackout. Aboard were 6 of the Resistance's most elusive operatives. Among them, Taliser, a winged Malari exile who once programmed neural viruses for the Directorate, and Chiron Sol, a Terran deserter with a mind for sabotage and a past as murky as deep space. Ilera watched them depart from the command deck. She didn't say farewell. She had long since run out of rituals to soften the sting of risk. After the launch, she returned to her quarters. Alone for the first time in hours, she stared at the ancient relic on her desk, an Earth medallion, cracked but intact, engraved with the old words, "Peace through unity." She picked it up, tracing the letters with her thumb. "We believed that once," she murmured. Outside, the stars shifted. Behind her, a new message pulsed. From Earth. From her brother. Encrypted, high priority, but unsigned. She opened it. "Ilera, if you get this, know I'm alive. I've seen what they're doing. I'm working from the inside. There's a way to stop the memory weapon, but you'll need to find the archive beacon. They buried the coordinates during the merge. I've left clues in the old Resistance logs. Find them, and don't trust Arlen Vox. She's hiding something." The message ended in static. Ilera didn't move for a long time. She set the medallion down, colder now in her hand. Outside the window, the crimson sky of Andar Prime began to pulse brighter. War had not begun with fire, but fire was coming, and not all betrayals would come from Earth. The stars above Tharsis Null pulsed with unnatural rhythm. From a distance, the Terran memory weapon platform resembled a sprawling cathedral of light and metal, a grotesque monument to control masquerading as security. Deep within its core, turbines hummed with the weight of stored energy, cycling through calculations designed to erase identity without bloodshed. It was the most civilized atrocity Earth had ever conceived. Aboard the stealth corvette Wraith 7, silence reigned. Chiron Sol adjusted the magnetic clamps on his boots as the vessel docked invisibly to the underbelly of the station. Taliser, her membranous wings folded tight against her back, exhaled slow streams of ion-cooled breath. The mission briefing had been simple. Locate the AI nexus, disable it, and extract a copy of the control schema. What had not been mentioned was the tight corridor of moral compromise they'd have to navigate. Chiron checked his comms. Breaching now. The panel popped loose without a sound. One by one, they slipped into the station like ghosts. Light sensors blinked, then failed as Taliser looped the system through recursive logic traps. The corridors ahead dimmed, no alarms sounded. For now, they were shadows. Inside the command center of the Vigilant Promise, Ilera Vance tracked the infiltration on a 3D interface. Red pulses marked heartbeat monitors. One vanished. "Team leader, report," she said calmly. A voice came back, ragged. "Sol here. Rails down. Internal drones. Adaptive response tech. Didn't trip sensors. Taliser's rerouting the navigation feed now. Abort. No. We go forward. We're close." Ilera didn't argue. She trusted Sol, even if she didn't trust the darkness he carried. She turned to Vex, standing beside her. "They'll reach the AI chamber in 5 minutes if they survive. But we've got another problem." Vex tapped into the outer relay feeds. Terra 9th is redirecting 2 cruisers. Looks like they picked up a distortion. If they scan deep enough, they'll see the Wraith. Ilera clenched her fists. "I'm ordering an interference pulse. Time it with the station's regular calibration cycle. Make it look like a system hiccup." Vex nodded and disappeared into the ops bay. Moments passed like years. On Tharsis Null, Chiron and Taliser reached the AI chamber. The room was massive, ringed with suspended memory cores, each one gently pulsing. In the center, a figure stood, unexpected, motionless. It wasn't security. It was a person, a woman, human, unarmed. She turned slowly. Her face was familiar. Chiron froze. "Ilera." "No," the woman said. "My name is Dr. Lena Vance." He stared. "Ilera's sister. Officially declared dead 15 years ago in a shuttle accident near Helion Drift." But the eyes, They were unmistakable. Talisker hissed, wings tensing. It's a trap. No, Chiron said slowly. It's something worse. Lena stepped forward, palms open. I know what you've come to do. You're too late. The weapon's memory lattice is already charged. But I can help you, if you help me first. You built this. I designed the memory anchors. The architecture, yes, but not the function, not the intention. Chiron raised his weapon. That's convenient. I didn't know what they planned to use it for, until it was too late. Now I'm a liability. Talisker narrowed her eyes. Why are you still alive? Because they think I'm broken, that the guilt made me compliant. They're half right. Chiron hesitated. Why should we trust you? Lena looked up at the swirling matrix. Because I designed a kill code, buried in the base of the control core. You can't just shut it down. If you try, the whole system will trigger a feedback loop and release the memory pulse prematurely. But the code can collapse the architecture safely. Where is it? In me. Neural interface. It has to be extracted manually. Talisker moved instantly, scanning her with a bioscanner. She's telling the truth. Chiron lowered his weapon. Then let's move. Back on the Vigilant Promise, the interference pulse launched. 2 Terran cruisers staggered in their scans, systems briefly blinded. Alara watched with surgical focus. A message pinged across the command console, encrypted, urgent. From Jane. Alara, I found something. Go. It's about Vox. Alara's chest tightened. She's been transmitting off-band since yesterday. Coordinates to an asteroid cluster near the Verge line. And the signal structure? It matches early Directorate protocols. From the days before the Unity Charter. Is she feeding them intel? She's feeding someone intel. And that asteroid cluster? It's the last known location of Archive Beacon 0. Alara didn't respond. Could Vox be that obvious? Or had she known Alara would find out? And why warn her brother not to trust Vox if he didn't trust her in return? A siren cut through her thoughts. Terran fighters have launched, Vex reported. They're heading toward Tharsis Null. Time to evac. 8 minutes. Maybe less. On the station, Chiron pulled Lena toward the interface while Talisker uploaded the extraction cipher. The room began to shake. I've activated the cascade, Lena said. You need to go? I'll hold the signal steady until it completes. Chiron stared at her. You're not coming with us? She smiled. I'm already erased, Chiron. Just not officially. Talisker tugged his arm. Now, they sprinted. Behind them, Lena stood alone, surrounded by the quiet hum of memory, her legacy, her guilt. The Wraith 7 launched just as the chamber collapsed. From space, Tharsis Null flickered, its lights dimming, then going dark in one sweeping wave. The weapon was gone. Alara watched the confirmation feed with a hollow breath. Then she turned to Vex. Recall Jane. And Vox. I want every trace of those transmissions analyzed. I want truth. I don't care how much it hurts. Vex nodded. Alara left the bridge. In her quarters, she found the last message from her brother again. Find the archive beacon. Don't trust Vox. She looked at the cracked medallion again. Peace through unity. But unity, she now understood, was not the absence of conflict. It was the strength to choose who you stood with when the peace ended. And now, the storm truly began.